up, Savvy Baby? What's up, guest? What's up, that Albanian machine? Yeah, so I've been having problems lately with my mother-in-law, and my wife has, but my wife is the reserved, quiet, keep it all in type. She doesn't like to let it out. She doesn't like to have conversations about things. She hates confrontation, so whenever she tries to have conversation with her mom, it always gets flipped onto her, even if her mom is doing the thing that's wrong, which most of the time it is. But the biggest thing, we've been together like 7 years, and since she got a divorce with her ex-husband, my wife, basically my mother-in-law has been spending a lot of time with him. She claims crazy. So she can get time with the kids more. All this crazy stuff, but we ended up through roundabout ways finding out that they kind of had a thing. They would go on hikes together. What? She confessed to that because she felt bad.
What kind of thing?
They're always texting and talking and hanging out. They get each other gifts for random stuff. He had braces. He got his braces off. She gave him a gift basket.
A gift basket?
Obviously, I'm a little bitter, but I go through surgeries and stuff. Nothing ever happens. Like, she doesn't give me anything. She doesn't say anything. But clearly there's something going on. We read some text messages too while our daughter was on her phone. We saw messages coming in from him. Well, my wife did, and she looked at it, and they're telling they love each other and all this stuff. Anyways, as messed up as that is, my wife tries to call her out, and then my wife gets in trouble because she was looking at the phone or whatever, and it's always flipped on her. And it's like, well, it's not weird that we hang out because it could be the same as your dad and your grandpa hanging out. But clearly it's not the same thing.
Oh, yeah, is he trying to suck your grandpa's dick?
At this point, I just don't know what to do because there's so many times where I want to say something to both of them, but my wife doesn't want me to, and so I'm respecting that. And every time my wife tries to talk to them about stuff and saying she's uncomfortable, she either flips it on her or, turns it around and she says, oh, okay, and then nothing ever happens. So, yeah, thanks.
Brutal stuff. This is fucking crazy.
Was thick.
Yeah.
That was thick with drama.
That's tough stuff. When did he send this? I just want to know. Thank God this is a free episode. All right, it's coming out soon, brother.
Yeah, man, we got to get to this stat.
I mean,
so it's coming into the ER.
Insane. Your mother-in-law is a fucking insane person. I feel like this has happened. I feel like we've gotten calls like this. And also this is a weird dynamic. Like one thing I never understood, I guess because I come from the classic, there's different parent configurations. I come from bad dad, good mom. So it's hard for me to imagine, but one of the most fucked up types of moms is the mom that sees her daughter as competition. That's one of the craziest types of fucking old whores out there. And this woman feels a little like that. I think there's some of that going on here. She's clearly a fucking dumb bitch. I mean, there's no way around that. All the lying and you don't say. She's manipulative and flips it on.
Yeah, I got a little confused about the reading the text messages.
How I'm reading it is that basically the mom, at a minimum, just likes the ex-husband more than both the current guy and her daughter.
Yeah.
And
I've
worst,
seen that happen.
Definitely.
I've seen parents not like their kid, let alone
100%.
the person they're with.
100%. And that's at the lowest end. And at the highest end, she's secretly fucking this guy, right? That's kind of the range that we're sort of that's the range that we're in right now.
Do we have to just go back to the same advice we gave the first caller and be like, well, emotional maturity would say that, if you love something, you want it to be happy too. So if your mom needs to fuck your ex-husband, you should be if they're both sincerely happy, we're being hypocrites right now. If we're telling this guy it's entirely fucked up, but the first guy, hey, move on, dude.
Move
on. Your mom's fucking your children's dad. Just move on. Grow up.
Grow up. So he's dealing with a couple different issues here. You've got the dumb bitch mother-in-law, which a classic, a tale as old as time, right? But the real issue here is for him is getting his wife to confront, because he sounds like he's chomping at the bit to go at this old bitch, and his wife doesn't want to do.
Well,
that.
It sounds like maybe his wife, the daughter, already has some context where she's like, I don't even want to deal with her. Like there's already.
I wonder if that's the case, or I wonder if, because this is also another classic situation of like her mom just sounds like one of those parents that's like selfish, does whatever the fuck they want, is kind of manipulative, gets out. And look, again, you're right. We only have one side of the story here.
Yeah.
But I do think the first step in this is like your wife has to start really thinking about her relationship to her mother. I mean, this does suck because this really isn't. You do kind of have to take your cues from your wife here, but I would personally try and attack it at the base of shit where it's like, this feels like some classic therapy shit. This feels like some shit your wife needs to go to therapy.
Oh, yeah.
And with the specific intent of discussing her relationship with her mother. Because this is insane. And you're also like, it's okay for you to have your feelings hurt as just like a son-in-law of like, what the fuck, bitch? Like, that is weird. Like, if I'm in a situation and like this woman loves the guy before me, it's like, all right, well, your fucking daughter picked me. She doesn't want him in her life. You're being other than like the co-parent.
But that's what, are the kids still cool with this guy and the mom, or are they also like, are they being turned against them? Or are the kids like, yeah, it's pretty weird. So I don't know how old these kids are and like what the context that they're like sorting this out themselves. And but
yeah,
I got no clean answer for my man here.
I mean, I really do believe it's like you just got to start with your wife and her relationship with her mom. That's the absolute center of all this. And like, cause I would love a situation where you fucking tell this old lady off, and even like her. It sounds like your wife might just have a weird, bad relationship with her mom, and I think that's what's here. And that's all you could do is kind of support your wife through that. Because as things are, I wouldn't be the guy who sort of like tries to be a cowboy about this and like tells the old lady off yourself. I think you have to just support your wife into examining her relationship with their mom and what she wants. And that's tough. A lot of times people want to be in denial if they have toxic parents, because it's easier to just be like, well, that's just my dad, that's just my mom. But sometimes they're bad for you, man.
Yeah, because trying to excavate all of it is like,
and it's a lot of work.
I am replacing happiness with contentment is like very easy, and also like its own disease, I think, of like,
yeah.
I mean, I bring it up a lot about being Midwestern. Like,
sure.
Well, trying to be happy takes work. But
right,
just being
right.
like, yeah, it's
making the best of it. Yeah.
Right. Like, well, but didn't you want to do like more? And like,
yeah.
But like,
it's all right. I'll drink a 12-pack.
Yeah, I got like the good cable pack.
Yeah.
I can just keep flipping till I fall asleep. Do it again tomorrow.
Yeah. And listen, your wife might, after going to some therapy, thinking, doing the cost-benefit analysis, she might just be like, it's easier not to. But she has to decide that and not just stay in her own patterns. To me, that's what's... And look, maybe I'm a little biased. I do think that it's important to like... I think it's important to really think about, if you have a parent that's been a fucking issue in your life, it's important to try and have a relationship on your terms. And if they won't, or at least on some kind of middle ground, and if your parent won't do that, I do think I think cutting off a shitty parent is a good way to go, and it'll actually ultimately make you happier. I've seen that happen for friends of mine.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's something that I think should be on the table, but that's not your decision. That's your wife. So all you can do is support her, maybe try and get her into some therapy, and kind of, be as supportive as possible with that.
Have you ever had that shift in your life where you had to like envision your parents just as like a 20-year-old dealing with their parents and going like, oh, this is adding way more layers.
Totally.
To like, oh no, this is just my mom and dad. They make the rules. They were like, oh wait, they grew up. They had parents. They were in the same position I was, and they say that's the perspective you only get when you have kids of your own. But it's like, oh, I'm not going to have kids, so I should try and force that perspective on myself. Like,
right.
Oh, maybe they're this way because of the way they were raised. And it's like, you got to take some of that stuff into account.
Totally.
So.
Yeah, that's definitely happened to me, but I've also had that, and I'm like, oh, but Like,
but maybe if you look at
you know what, I can't.
Too much.
I should get into this publicly.
I'm sorry. Do you want to make a call into the show, Stabby?
I do. Yes. I mean, everybody knows I have a complicated relationship with my dad, so it's like I've had that like moment. And don't get me wrong, I definitely have empathy because he went through a lot of shit. But then there's other stuff where I'm like, oh, he is behaving like this is not acceptable. So I think it cuts both ways. Where you're like, you give them the benefit of the doubt, and you see what they were up against, and you have empathy for them for that. But then you also think of ways they behaved certain other times. And you're like, oh, I would never do that.
Why didn't you see that you didn't like it being done to you? Why do you think it's your job to do it to me?
Dude, literally exactly. Where my dad
you
will
could break
still,
the chain.
Exactly. He'll still like talk about ways that other people from 30 years ago wronged him, but he can't admit that like he did the same thing to me or my brothers or whatever.
Greek immigrant?
Immigrant,
Oh, man,
Came over here in the 80s, like, you
those
know.
were hard
had a
dads.
weird, and look, his parents were bad. I've talked about it on my first special. His parents were from a loveless arranged marriage.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be the most nurturing environment.
He didn't have a good example of what
He did not have a good example. He did not have a good example. Stavros Halkias, my namesake, was not the best dad. He was more of a hoarder and a man who fed exotic birds. He cared way more about his birds than his family, and he helped like homeless. He was like a weirdly good. This is a theme with the father figures in my life, in my family, where it's like they weren't bad guys to like their friends and the community at large.
No.
They just didn't understand how to have families and what they needed to do for that.
Well, you couldn't I think that was just like dudes of a generation. Like you
For
just
sure.
you weren't emotional around your kids,
And you
didn't
your
show emotions.
And I think part of it is like seeing your kids as almost like your pets, where they were like they had to do whatever you wanted, and there was no like you meeting them halfway emotionally or in any way.
I like it more like employees.
Yeah, employees. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that. But anyway,
I run the house. Oh, you're not part of a house. Oh no, you run the house.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. And then it's like, well, if that's the case, this company's been failing under your fucking administration. We've been in debt a lot.
We're getting bailed out.
Yeah, we should have gone bankrupt a lot of times.